Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Are you ready for Ukraine Part 2? Well, it seems like that's going to be next. And it's going to be a different actor, not actors. The actor is going to be the same except Ukraine. Ukraine will be substituted with Georgia. Remember Georgia? Saakashvili? Yeah, that Georgia with South Ossetia, Abkhazia, remember? Well, at one point, Georgia, the country, renounced its aspirations of joining NATO. Now it seems like Georgia got reactivated by I think, in my assessment, by its masters. What masters? The same ones. Now, I do not think that Georgia learned anything from Ukraine, what's happening over there. And one of the reasons why Ukraine is in the situation that it is because it had some little ideas of joining NATO. That was one red line that Ukraine was not supposed to cross because Russia had security concerns with NATO being at its borders. Now, if you look where Georgia is, it's very close to creating problems for Russia's security. Now, I don't know, Georgia is more isolated than Ukraine, I would say, in a way of having arms delivered. It doesn't mean they cannot be delivered arms to Georgia. Nevertheless, Georgia is much smaller, much weaker, and has less ability to get weapons. But maybe they think that this is their right time to say things like this, like wanting to join NATO. Let me read you the article, and then we're going to discuss the right for any country to join whatever organization they would feel like joining. But there is a principle that you cannot do that by how should I put it, threatening the security of other states by doing so. Well, let's see this article, which is from Daily Beast. Doesn't matter. Let's go and read it. This is from yesterday, actually, from June 21st. And it's ignore the provocative title, which is Georgia Sticks It to Putin. And then he says, we still want to join NATO. Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili, they're all Shvili, Saakashvili, Djugashvili, you know who Djugashvili is, right? Joseph Vissarionovich Djugashvili, Stalin. All right, so this gentleman made the announcement at an economic conference in Qatar on Tuesday, telling the crowd that the country's, and I'm quoting, motivation is to become a member of NATO. Now, before Russia collapses or after? Okay, before is probably going to be getting some smacks. After, it's a possibility if that is to occur. But he said the Georgian leadership is not naive in its ambitions and that it understands it must first resolve, quote unquote, issues with its breakaway regions before joining the alliance. You know, the breakaway regions in their name, they call it that way. The country has long sought to join NATO, and although it's considered a close partner to the Western alliance and regularly takes part in allied military drills, plans for accession have largely been viewed with skepticism because thousands of Russian troops are currently stationed in the breakaway regions of South Ossetia and Abkhazia. And I'm quoting, our government's policy is to restore territorial integrity and sovereignty through peaceful negotiations. We have not been in contact with Moscow since we came to power. We have not had any political consultation since 2012. We have only trade and economic relations, end quote, Garibashvili said. His comments seem bound to strike a chord with Russia's Vladimir Putin, not with Putin, with Russia's security overall. Because if you put over there rockets, guess what? It's not Putin that he can't have a hard on if you Georgia is going to join NATO. It's not about him. It's not about him. I mean, oh my God, come on. It doesn't work that way. But nevertheless, this guy make it like this guy is just a second Stalin. Maybe he is, but it doesn't. His actions so far do not match his. I'm talking about Stalin's, who has said Moscow will respond. Putin said Moscow will respond extremely negatively to Georgia joining the alliance. And shortly before the February 24th full-scale invasion of Ukraine, said Russia would use any means necessary to stop NATO from helping Ukraine to win back territories occupied by Russia's proxy. Use any means necessary, Malcolm X, to stop NATO. That means nuclear bombs too. So Russia made similar arguments to justify its invasion of Georgia in 2008, with then President Dmitry Medvedev claiming that war had stopped NATO from expanding into former Soviet republics. When Gabashvili made his remarks Tuesday, his office has reportedly just received an invitation to an upcoming NATO summit. So you see, the masters turned the switch on. They said, now, do it. Talk about it. Let's do it. This is just an invitation. See? In Madrid, from Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, the letter which notes that the meeting comes as Russia has shattered peace in Europe, says NATO allies will forge a new policy on Russia during the summit. Since Georgia was first promised eventual membership in NATO back in 2008, which was bad move, some experts have called for the country to be admitted to the alliance even despite its territorial issues, arguing that the breakaway regions could simply be exempt from Article 5, which obligates members to join to each other's defense against outside aggression. You see, these guys bend all the rules. You see, when Romania was about to join NATO and European Union and so on, it had to solve its territorial disputes with Ukraine. And so we don't have anything with the Snake Island, you can take it. We don't have anything, no problem with Bukovina, you can take it. Well, Chernowitz, northern part of Romania, southern western part of Ukraine, we don't have it. So they ceded this. They say, you can have it. They did all with all the countries. That was a prerequisite to apply to NATO and so on. And these guys are bending all the rules, including the European Union bans the rules of quickly getting Moldova and Ukraine into European Union, bypassing all the waiting time, all the human rights requirements, all that. Every other country had to be humiliated to follow and to be like peasants begging a master. But that's how the politicians were. That was how the mass media was in those countries, and that's how the population. Yeah, we got to go and be in Europe. Yeah, okay, now you are. What are you over there? A vassal state. That's what you are. But nevertheless, no problem. Let's move here. These guys want to be too. All right. So former NATO General Secretary Andreas Fogh Rasmussen made this suggestion in 2019, noting that the country fulfills almost all criteria to become a NATO member, except the most important one. You don't have problems with your neighbors because you can draw us in a war. But they don't care because they want to get in a war with Russia. I think the way to move beyond the stalemate is to discuss in Georgia whether you will accept an arrangement where NATO's Article 5 covers only that Georgia's territory where the Georgian government has full sovereignty, he said at the time in an interview with the Voice of America. So they say, okay, we can, you gotta renounce that. We're gonna make something. We're gonna work something out. And if you are gonna push Russians and the Russians smack you back, we're gonna intervene. Moscow has yet to publicly respond to Garibashvili's NATO overture, with security officials busy in the latest bout of saber-rattling against NATO member Lithuania on Tuesday. Yeah, because Lithuania did not do anything. It's just a victim. Russian Security Council Chief Nikolai Petrushev warned that Baltic country that is citizens will face serious negative consequences after authorities there imposed a rail blockade cutting off the transit of Russian goods to the enclave region of Kaliningrad on Saturday. Well, they're just the victims, yeah. Russia will, of course, respond to hostile actions of this kind, Patrushev told a security meeting, claiming the blockade which Lithuania imposed in line with European sanctions, which is part and voted for the sanctions. So yes, you voted for that. Now you say, oh, it's just always these little bottom feeders. They hide behind other people with more power. Because if left by themselves, they will zip it and be nice. But like this, oh, are you coming in? All right. Hey, you know what? Remember then when you were talking to me like that? I never liked it. How about now? You want me to give you something, huh? How is that? Am I good? Yeah, all right. So if that guy punches you in the face, and they gonna fight, right? For Georgia? No. Or for Lithuania? No. But they, nevertheless. All right. It says here that Patrushev said that the blockade which Lithuania imposed in line with EU sanctions had been orchestrated by the West against norms and principles of international law. It's murky over there. Nevertheless, let's talk about NATO. You can, but you have to think of the other countries' security concerns as well. This is a principle that has to be respected. It's not only about Russia, about everybody. Let's say tomorrow, Russia puts in Cuba some real missiles over there, not just the pads and all that. No, the real missiles. Do you think the United States will say, oh, well, if they're in an alliance, we're A-okay, man. I mean, what do you want? Or you're saying in Mexico, because it seems like Obrador is a little bit more with ballsy than those guys. Let's say in Mexico and Tijuana, put a few rockets over there. Do you think the United States say, well, man, it's the right of each country to make its own decisions. And if you guys are allies, we're good, man. We're cool. Give me 5. Huh? Nah, it's not going to happen that way. It's going to be like, oh, my God, let's start a war. We're going to kill you. We're going to do this. Like Cuban Missile Crisis. Remember that, right? All right. Well, nevertheless, Georgia was activated, and Georgia will be smacked. I guarantee you, if it's going to be the same thing as with Ukraine, if they continue talking like that. Now, Russia is a little bit busy there. Once it's done over there, I guarantee you that these guys, if they try to cut the line or cross Russia, they will be not even like that. It's too big, like this. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.